So here I am, the Microgreens Palace. I figured today I'd show you a little bit about how I plant. I've done a lot of videos showing the growth of my microgreens, and I've shown harvesting them, but I don't think I've actually shown me planting the microgreens. So today I'm going to show you a little bit how I do that, what seeds I actually weight down, some of my methods for doing that, and how much seed I use per tray. So follow along, and I hope you enjoy. Here I have 2 stacks of trays I just washed. I've only been just rinsing out my trays. I haven't been sanitizing them, nothing like that. There hasn't really been a need. I haven't had any mold growth, no mildew, nothing like that. So I just kind of give them a quick rinse and reuse them. Here I've got all kinds of various seed, all from Mountain Valley. Seems to be a good place to buy seed from. Here's some beet, all kinds of stuff in here, various stuff. Here's what I use to measure my seed. I use just a tablespoon. You'll see I use different amounts. Some things like radish I'll use three tablespoons. Something like red garnet amaranth, I might only use half a tablespoon. And I'll show you all that. Here I have some soil. I've got my trusty measuring scoop. Each tray takes about approximately 3 scoops of frosted flakes here. I'm getting kind of low on soil. That soil is just Microgreens. It's just cheap potting soil. I've used all different kinds, and I've found that this works as good as any of it. I haven't really found a soil out there that doesn't work very good for microgreens, because they're not in the soil for very long. They don't really need a lot of nutrition. And Microgreens actually has more nutrition than what they need, but it's cheap, so that's why I use it. So what I'll be doing, I'll be taking a tray without holes and a tray with holes. These are small holes because at one point I got low on trays without holes, so I drilled my own. And I'll be doing 2 trays of each thing I do today, which is not a lot, but it's all I'm going to need. This is another tray without holes. Another tray with holes. You can see this is what it looks like if you bought it already having holes in it. So I'll be taking my soil here. So now I'll just be taking my hand and I'll break up all the lumps. Then I just kind of smooth it out as best I can. Some people actually use a piece of plywood that's about the same size as the tray, and they'll just take and they'll pat the whole thing down so it's all nice and even and smooth. And then after they put their seed on, they will pat it down again to press the seed. I haven't ever done that, and I haven't needed to, but you know, maybe someday I will. Let's see. I've seen videos where, you know, like Curtis Stone, the urban farmer, has a nice screen set up that he runs all his soil through, so he doesn't have to do the whole breaking up the clumps. And that's a great idea. I probably will do that at some point. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Alright, that's 2 trays with soil. I'll take my hose. I've got it set to shower. And I'm just going to give these a pretty good watering. Don't normally do that with my seed sitting right next to it. Get that out of the way. Just a little bit more. I like to get it really nice and wet. Alright, now let me just pick out the seed I'm going to use for this one, and I'll show you how I spread it out. My first two trays, I'm going to go with Mammoth Rock red cabbage, which grows in a nice like purple stem. Looks great. Has a decent flavor to it, but I think that people like it more for the color than anything else. So I'll go ahead. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons per tray. What I do is I just kind of tap, and I try to do as nice, even of a coat as I possibly can. So I'm going to do that for 2 scoops per tray. You can use more or less seed depending on how you think things are going. I'm going to go ahead and get the other tray done, and these trays will actually get stacked on top of each other. And then I'll show you what I do about topping off the final tray. Next I'm going to spread out some radish seed. You can see I've got 3 different kinds here. Trenton Purple, Red Arrow, and Dakin. And I'm actually going to do 1 tablespoon of each in the 2 trays that I have, and just mix them in evenly. And I've already got the trays all soiled and watered down, and I'll show you what they look like after I've spread them. Alright, radish seed is all spread. Like I said, there's 3 different kinds of radish, and there's 1 tablespoon of each, so 3 tablespoons per tray. One thing I didn't show you when I do the cabbage is I like to change my sprayer to mist. And I'll actually come along, and before I stack these up, just give them a nice mist. Just to make sure the seed gets wet all the way over. And then I take them and I stack them up, and those will go in the greenhouse waiting for their top tray. Now here's something I've never tried. This is a spicy salad mix from Mountain Valley. And if you've been watching my videos, you know that I normally make my own mixes after I've grown various things. I'll just kind of mix them all together and make my own mix. So I figured I'd give this a shot. I don't remember everything that's in this, so I'm not even going to try to tell you what's in it. I'm kind of surprised they didn't put it on the label. I would have thought they would have. But if you're curious what's in their mix, head on over to Mountain Valley Seed Co. and check it out. Do a search for Mountain Valley Seed, you'll find it. It was pretty inexpensive. It was between $10 and $13 for a pound. And so I figured I'd give it a shot. I'm going to do just 1 trial tray, and I'm not going to stack it because I'm not sure what's in it. This other tray here is just a tray of broccoli, and that tray there is going to be the new trial. So let's give it a shot and see what it looks like. So you can see there's a mix of seeds here. Spread it the same way I spread all my other ones. I know there's some kohlrabi in here, which I've never grown before. And it looks like maybe broccoli in here. Maybe arugula. I can't tell you for sure. So I'm going to do 2 scoops. 2 tablespoons. Kind of a light tablespoon, but that'll be fine. Alright, so that's all spread. I'm just going to mist that down, stack this tray on top of the broccoli, and then I gotta make 3 trays, or no, 2 more trays to go on top of the radish and the cabbage that are already in the greenhouse. And I'll do probably amaranth for both of those. And I'll show you that in just a second. Alright, for my final seed today, I'll be doing the red garnet amaranth. And I'll show you a little bit about that. This is a tricky seed because you always want to seed way more than you need to. It's such a small seed that it just seems like you're not putting enough on, but trust me, you are putting enough on. I do just about half a tablespoon per tray. So let me show you how I do that. That's probably a little less than half a tablespoon. So I'll probably add a little bit more to this, but just really try to spread it nice and even. I found that if you keep this seed nice and evenly spread and you don't try to overseed it, you'll have less problems of damping off, which is the biggest problem I found with amaranth. Basically, right in the middle of the tray or anywhere in the tray, you'll see some just start dying off, and those ones that die off will kind of cling to other healthy plants and drag those down, and they'll all just kind of damp off together, and that's how you lose a lot of crop. Get just a hair more for this tray. Like I said, it's really hard to not overseed. It doesn't look like it's going to be enough, like it's such a small amount, but that's actually probably perfect. Now I'm going to give these a light misting, and I'm going to stack these on top of the cabbage and the radish, and I'll show you that. Here we are, back in the Microgreens Palace. In this stack right here, there's 2 trays of cabbage, and on top we have the amaranth that's being covered by 1 tray, radish in here, and amaranth again on top. This one down here I showed you was just one of the broccoli, and then that new mix I have on top. And while I'm in here, I'll show you. That's some butter crunch lettuce that has worked out pretty well as a microgreen, but I only use it as in a mix. I don't sell that as is. That'll probably go for probably another week before I cut it up and mix it in. But here's some of that cabbage that I just planted. This is what you can expect it to look like after about 10 days. The stuff that's stacked up will only be stacked up for 3 days, and then they will be unstacked, and sometimes I cover them with a tray like I did for the top trays, and sometimes I don't. I don't think you really need to. Here's some of that amaranth. This is also, I think, about 10 days. Some radish. This radish is also right about that 10-day mark. This is actually ready to be harvested right now. It was actually probably ready yesterday, but I'm not going to be packaging that up and selling it until tomorrow, so it doesn't hurt it to go a little bit longer. I try to cut it a little bit shorter, so unfortunately you don't get as much of the color when you do that, but it'll still be perfectly fine, and I would rather it go a little bit longer than have it sit around for 2 days or so. All kinds of micro basil, that's all going to get harvested up. It's kind of weird how some of them just out of nowhere shoot up and become these big basils, while the other ones still stayed kind of small. But tomorrow night I'll be chopping all that up. That'll all go into their own packages. I don't ever use basil as a mix. While we're in here, I want to show you this. This is red Russian kale. That's what happens when you let your red Russian kale microgreens grow. I guess some people might argue too big, but I would argue this is perfect. Being on a plate looking like that is awesome. And kale, you know, it gets eaten as a full-size leaf, so it doesn't really matter if it gets big. It's just not technically a microgreen. This might be a baby green, but I'll still be selling it as a microgreen anyways. Most microgreens, just so you know, most of them can get bigger. Certain things like sunflower needs to be cut at a certain time because it will start getting bitter. Something like pea shoots will just get too big and start getting like kind of tougher, not as tender as they used to be. So those need to be harvested at a certain time. Something like cabbage, this can go a week longer than you want it to. Get some arugula here. That can go a week longer than you wanted it to because, as we all know, arugula is eaten as a leafy green. That's just some regular amaranth, not red garnet amaranth. That'll just go in a mix. Some things like radish, you're going to want to harvest that fairly soon just because it will start getting kind of ugly. Like, it's not anything pretty about a big radish plant. So, with that, I hope you learned something from this video, and if you liked it, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll share some more.